This is a woman who did a lot of drugs. A lot of drugs. She also lives in a fantasy world. Kind of scary. When you believe in crystal balls and tarot cards and Jesus, I'm confused by your religion. Alright, so I'm here in Tillamook. How many people have I tried to explain about the situation, about what I try to do, and about how I have to do it alone and get called crazy and treated like I'm crazy? How many people here have said, oh yeah, I know what's going on. It's happened to my cousin. It's happened to my brother. It's happened to this person. It's happened to that person that I know. I say, hey, speak up together. Everybody knows somebody that happened to, but they ain't speaking up. They ain't fighting back. People don't care about who the police are murdering unless it's black people right now. How dare they murder black people? How dare they kill white people? How dare they kill Hispanic people? How dare they kill anybody? Autism is a death sentence in this country. Tourette syndrome, too. There's a difference between tics and stimming. I know I have both. Some of you have nervous tics. It's a little bit difficult not to control it. Like for me, I have to control it in public or I get treated pretty badly. People say, oh, there's a creepy. What's creepy about me? The fact that I exist? What have I done to anybody that's horrible, rotten, or wrong? Well, it doesn't matter. I'm not a person. We got lots of people simply with firms, many of them recorded on my channel. Many of the situations of these other things that I've been jumping through these hoops to get done. The woman who's working this morning says that there isn't one. So, only 3 hours. That prevents me from doing 90% of the things that I need to do in a state of crisis. Right now, basically, all I can use that room for is to charge my electronics, which, by the way, I need to take this thing up there and charge it. When a disabled and homeless male is being abused, you just make excuses over and over. You don't actually help them, especially not how they need. The things that you promise that you can do or that you'll help them to do, you never follow through. And besides that, what that person needs is for you to look at the evidence and help them to turn it in. Look at the evidence, help them turn it in. Look at the evidence, help them turn it in. How do you turn it in? Together. Together. If I'm taking the time to go through and pull out the evidence and show it to you and explain it to you, and you're not looking at it and you're not listening and you're literally blowing off everything that I'm saying, then you don't care. When you want to type that you'll pray for me, don't do that. That's a waste of our time. It's a waste of your time to type it and a waste of my time to read it. A lot of the crimes that were committed against me by the Bollingers and their friends and family When I went to turn in the Bollingers and their friends and family for doing the things they did over and over, didn't listen, didn't care. My own friends may think Graham Milborn didn't know me enough to do that time. Something could have been done because Laura Nelson was a part of it since well before I even went to Virginia. She was involved in helping me to get to Virginia. It was her car that I drove to Virginia. So yeah, Laura Nelson should have been the one to speak instead of Graham, because you get to hear in that officer's voice and his demeanor. He was just annoyed that he was there. He didn't even make a police report. Do you have any idea how screwed up that is? It's because of situations like that. Like in that one situation, at least, I was for certain that something was going to happen. But no, Graham screwed that up before I ever got out the door, because Graham went out there, told him I was autistic, and then he starts pulling the by the grace of the God retarded bullshit. No, dude. No, dude, nothing to do with God. Once you start going off on religion or unicorns, their heads go the other direction, dude. By the grace of God. Shut up. Stick to the facts. Yes, someone was at risk. Multiple people's lives were. He almost. But you guys don't want to hear that. My predators. You want to tell me what to do and what to think and what to feel. I start over with someone new every time. Every time. Without a friend or family member there to help me to explain it, you're just going to talk over me too. Because you're all trash. You're all trash. Listen to every single person here in Tillamook, Oregon that I have told these things to, not just to tell them so that I have someone to bitch to, but because I need help. And I tell them I need help. What kind of a person can call themselves a good person if they're going to tell me the things that they tell me and not help to turn it in? If you know that it's happening, and it's happening to you and your family too. But somehow magically these people who have money, it's a crime if anybody does this to them. If they pretend that somebody might do it to them, you'll believe whatever the cops tell you, won't you? And the cops will believe whatever they're told. Who are the cops going to listen to? The person who's got the money, because the person with the money can sue. Everybody in America knows that if they hate people and they want to hurt somebody, pick somebody who's more poor than you, because they can't sue you. We're pedestrians. I love the Mickey Mouse gloves you guys are wearing.
Exactly, right?
You just need the ears.
Yeah. Go ahead, Natalie.
I'm going to a parade. I got social anxiety. Much of that comes from having Tourette's. A lot of times the difference between me getting messed with as a kid for having Tourette's syndrome and not getting messed with was whether or not there was an adult present who was aware that I had Tourette's syndrome. Well, thank you for sharing. So there's a dairy poo raid or something. Yeah, that was just playing on words a little bit. It's amazing the stuff that people will waste money on. We don't need 40 therapists in this town that aren't helping disabled people or homeless people. We need services that are actually going to help specific men. Because nearly all the services that we have are female exclusive. If you're abused as a man, it's nearly impossible to get any of these services to listen to you because you're a male. For no other reason. When it comes to a woman who's got disabilities that prevent her from being able to do something, a lot of these services will help her with the paperwork right then and there. This abuse, this is nationwide for a lot of homeless people. Oh, there's Smokey Bear. Yeah. Oh my God. All right, this might have been a little more ambitious of a walk than I should have. Oh God, I'm hurting. Alright, so here's what I'm going to do, because I know some of my viewers are autistic. I'm not going to point the camera at any of what's going on, because it's too loud for me to handle. I'm going to head back the other direction away from the honking. That gentleman pulled up next to me with his kids, and I told him see, sometimes the things that you think are a good or nice thing to do, it's stressful for us to take part in that. Something that might be fun for somebody who's autistic might be completely different from what you consider fun. For you, socialization, well, socialization is different. Also, you guys tend to want to socialize to solve problems for people that are not important. You think socialization will fix it. Now, for me, I grew up in the system. I've been abused in ways you don't want to hear about. One of the worst ideas when I'm being abused, when I'm being harmed, when I'm being hit, having people that are threatening to kill me and my friends and family, the last idea you should be suggesting is that I need to get laid. That doesn't fix anything. Do you know how much time and energy it takes into trying to convince another human being to do something like that? And that's if you're interested to begin with. If you're not interested, why would you do that? You should know your equipment better than anybody else. Thank you. You see how those noises affect me? Those of you who are autistic, you are probably affected by it as well. There's a lot of movement, a lot of bright colors, a lot going on. very loud environment. Not just audio, but also visual. And that's something that's difficult for me. Driving is very difficult for me because if there's a lot of traffic on the road, then I am constantly distracted while driving. It's not safe for me to drive in the city. Some days it's not safe for me to drive in Tillamook. Chapel, Nebraska, it's pretty well always safe for me to drive there. There's hardly ever any traffic there. Okay. It doesn't look like it matters because nobody's getting through that. That thing is huge.
I know.
Go ahead, Safeway.
Thank you much. Now, when I talk about nice people, there are lots of nice people here. There is no doubt about that. Lots of nice people here. Nice people don't want to get involved. Nice people think if they ignore the world's problems, they don't exist or they'll go away. And then nice people get smacked with a heavy dose of reality when it happens to them. Why did it happen to them? Because when it was happening to everybody else they knew, they were busy looking the other way. People saw that and they remembered it. You're not someone who helps. You're not someone who is part of the solution. You're someone who looks away. Nobody made you look away. All right, this thing is going to die just short order from now, so I'm going to have to get my happy butt back into the building. However, I got a rest from him. People don't understand what being overwhelmed is. Like they think they do. They got it in their head that they do. They also have it in their head that you have all of these resources that you don't have. That you have access to all of these things that you don't have. And that any disabilities that you may have don't exist and should be ignored. No, the details are important. Okay? The details are important. I didn't just magically and whimsically make my decisions. I made them based on the information that I had at hand. And also based on my understanding of the people around me. My understanding of them is far greater than their understanding of me. I did try going for help. My predators were able to cut me off from getting help through slander, false charges, and playing victim. It feels horrible when you're trying to get help from your friends because you're being harmed. And your predators are friends with them too. And they have drugs, and you don't. There's a lot of people who I usually do make sure that I show an example of how my predators treat me, of how antagonistic people are. Do you understand how many people at the Denny's, McDonald's, well, nearly all the places that I've been, how many of them I explain the human trafficking and the missing people and how it does need to be looked into? About how I'm overwhelmed and I don't have a quiet place to sit down with these things and work on it. People want to make suggestions that are great. You know, it's great being suggested that I take my stuff to the library and try to do it at the library, but it's also an unsafe place to do it. Hospitals don't complain about that, and they complain for a reason. Hospitals don't treat us very well. People who are doing the most to talk me out of turning into my predators. People who claim they've been through it before. Or something similar. Some of them have. When your friend reaches out to you for help, do you show them that you're a friend, or do you blow them off? Tell them about how busy you are. Tell them about how all your problems. Well, at that point, you're not trying to help me or listening to me. You're using me as a therapist. You're not paying me for it, though. When you want to call me friend and manipulate me, a lot of times I deal with, one of the autism places that somebody pointed me out to. There's a lady on there going through and spamming everybody that she helps with autism. And when you click on it, she tries to bait you into Bitcoin. There's a guy who was doing that the other day too. You know what I did? I gave him a whole mouthful about Natalie Bollinger, about how corrupt the police are here. And he kept coming right back around to the Bitcoin. You can see that in every one of these people's, what their actual motivation is. My dad, when he wanted to pretend like he was finally going to help me, what did he do? Wanted to promise me the help that I needed if I did something that he wanted me to do that was against my best interest. He wants me to take down evidence. No. There's a lot of people here until more pissed off. Never say so that it's not important. Talking over me, talking about yourself. You're not interested in helping me because you're not going to understand enough to help me because you're too busy giving advice and talking about yourself. When you're listening to me, you're not actually listening to the words I'm saying. You're listening for your spot to intervene, where you get to chime in your 2 cents. You want to pop in a pretty meme where they don't belong. I'm telling you details of crimes committed against me. Connect to make it unsafe and to repeatedly force me to go back to people who had committed crimes against me. I was forced to go to my predators for help by name. Scott DaCosta was not one of my predators before Natalie died. He just made poor decisions in his hiring practices. The important thing is that the events happened. I may not know the name of every single officer who committed a crime against me, but it's difficult when you are targeted like this. But no matter what, anybody can commit crimes against you and pretend like you're schizophrenic. That's what the term mentally ill means. Oh, he's schizophrenic. y'all automatically assign that to a lot of different people, too. Like you pretend Jack the Ripper must have been schizophrenic, and Jeffrey Dahmer must have been schizophrenic, and of course that whole Waco fiasco, everybody there must have been schizophrenic. No, we got a lot of stupid people who believe in rainbows and tarot cards. And if you give them a reason to believe in something, and you believe in it fervently enough that human rights, I love the Constitution of the United States of America, even in its imperfection. It's the 13th Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America that needs to be changed. When you got 4 million black people in the South, all slaves, and then one day they're not slaves anymore, they're just homeless. And then you make a bunch of anti-homeless laws, and because of that very same 13th Amendment that just made them free, well, now it's being used to make them property of the state. All the 13th Amendment did is exchange ownership of slaves from private ownership to state ownership, federal ownership. Because the 13th Amendment governs being away from all of that noise, makes it easier for me to somewhat stay on track. It doesn't matter if it's those horns honking, Shannon Alvarado screaming, Teresa Orn taping or talking over me. When women cry, we're supposed to listen. That's something that you don't stop to understand. Most of us men listen intently. You call us simps. You call us B men. B. What does the B stand for? Not all men are against you, and your poor dating decisions are not the fault of all men. Being autistic sucks. It also sucks that we've got a bunch of by a lot of cases how these predators did encourage women to say things that were not true to try to gain sympathy. We get to see how literally thousands of women throughout the situation with Natalie took part in doing exactly that. Well, you should just say he did this. You should just say he did that. You know, if we all get on there and call it spam, hateful people that didn't care what was going on, they were busy judging, passing judgment, while you look away. I was born with a penis. That's strike one. I'm homeless. That's strike two. And I have post-traumatic stress disorder and show trauma reactions. I have PTSD. So you pretend that I'm schizophrenic by calling me mentally ill and making inferences with it. That's strike three. That is strike three. I lose before I ever get to court. You get to see how many people not only judged me, but passed judgment on me. Thought it was okay to get a hold of me, to harass me, to BS me, for getting laid.